Okay, welcome to number 7. I want to give us some room. And I would like to have us take a very brief break from symbolizing for a bit and take a look at 7 and just read it in English. Don't symbolize. Don't write down with arrows or wedges or tildes or anything. Just read it over and ask yourself, do you think it's valid or not? Okay, I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Don't overthink it, right? Because this is hard. So just think about it for maybe a minute, pause the video, come back when you've done that. Okay. I would find 7 to be hard to track without symbolizing, and that's actually the point that I want to make. 7 is an incredibly clever argument. I wish I had come up with this. It is actually, it is originated by one of my favorite philosophers, Alvin Plantinga, but it's clever, it's sophisticated, it's hard to follow. So let's symbolize it and see what we think. If the theory of evolution is right, then our minds are the product of it. So if the theory of evolution is right, then our minds are the product of it. I guess it doesn't matter if it's blue or not. I'll get to that. Okay. Let's just pause and see if that sentence makes sense, because I would like us to follow this argument through. If the theory of evolution is right, then our minds are the product of it. Do you see what someone might be thinking there? The idea is that, well, if the theory of evolution is right, then everything about our bodies, presumably, including our thumbs, including our eyes, including our brains, including our minds, are a product of evolution. So that's what this is saying. If our minds are the product of evolution, if P, then our beliefs are more likely to be useful than true. Why would anyone think that? The intuition here is that, what does evolution care about? Presumably, evolution cares about the survival of the species. I mean, I'm using caring about in a rather loose way there. What evolution would not care about would be helping us to understand nuclear physics, right? What really evolution cares about is that we survive long enough to reproduce and raise our kids, and that those kids survive long enough to reproduce and raise their kids. It's the survival of the species. So really, what evolution would be selecting for are useful traits. That's really what it cares about. That's what this is saying. So let's pause here. If R, then P. If P, then U. Does something follow? If so, what? Is that valid or not? Pause the video, come back when you're ready. Does something follow? Oh yeah. What follows is if R, then U, and that would be valid. That is hypothetical syllogism. I don't even really need to worry too much about what that is in English. I could figure it out. That would be, if the theory of evolution is right, then our beliefs are more likely to be useful than true. But I don't need to know that to see that that's hypothetical syllogism and so valid. Let's go on. If our beliefs are more likely to be useful than true, if you, then we shouldn't believe that the theory of evolution is true. I'll let that be S, for we shouldn't believe that the theory of evolution is true. Why on earth would anyone think that? Well, if our beliefs are more likely to be useful than true, what is a belief? The theory of evolution would be a belief, right? In the sense that it is a mental construct. When I say belief, I don't mean a mere belief, as though there's no evidence for it. I just mean that it is an inner mental representation of the way the world is. That inner mental representation might be justified, it might not be justified, but that's what it is. There is a distinction between the theory of evolution and the actual process of evolution, right? So if our beliefs, mental constructs, including the theory of evolution as a theory, are more likely to be useful than true, then I shouldn't believe that the theory of evolution is true, because it itself is one of the beliefs that I have. It itself is more likely to be useful than true. Got it? Okay. What can we conclude at this point? Pause the video, think about that, come back when you're ready. Okay, if R then U, if U then S, therefore if R then S. And by the way, does that not just feel like a relief at this point? Does it not feel like a relief to just be thinking in terms of if R then U, if U then S, rather than, okay, if our beliefs are more likely to be useful than true, then we shouldn't. It does to me. It is important sometimes to think about the content of these sentences, like say, when we are evaluating these premises for their truth or falsity. But if all we are doing is tracking the inferences, and if we can track the inferences and evaluate them just by thinking about those sentences in terms of their shapes rather than their content, oh, let's do it. It's much easier. Is that valid or invalid? It's valid. Hypothetical syllogism again. Next claim. If the theory of evolution is wrong, then we shouldn't believe it. Okay. If it is wrong, then we shouldn't believe it. By the way, if you want to use tilde R for not right, that's fine. And presumably that sentence is a little easier to understand. We shouldn't believe things that are wrong, basically. Can we conclude something at this point or not? Pause the video, think about that, come back when you're ready. I don't think we can, so let's continue to read. Either the theory of evolution is right or it's wrong. Okay, can we conclude something at this point? Pause the video, think about that, come back when you're ready. Can we conclude something? Oh, yes, we can. It's either right or it's wrong. If it's right, we shouldn't believe it. If it's wrong, we shouldn't believe it. So either way, we should not believe it. Valid via simple dilemma. And look, that's exactly where we end up. That's the conclusion that we are supposed to draw. So this argument is valid. Very good. I'll catch you in number 8.